Good afternoon, General.
Yes.
I had two quick questions. One is that there's some concern about the amount of garbage that's flying around the world, and we had to duck a couple of times already. And the second one is that one of the less dramatic but more greater impact programs that Dr. O started was the involvement of NASA Glenn engineers with the annual high school robotic championship.
Ooh.
And I hope to continue it.
Yes. You are absolutely right about too much garbage out there in low Earth orbit and mid, when you get from 600 kilometers, 400 nautical miles and in, there's a lot of stuff out there. We have cataloged, I want to say it's several tens of thousands of, when I talk about particles, I mean some things are big and some of them are the size of your fist. A fleck of paint can ruin your day for Mike Foreman or Guy Bluford if it happens to be crossing your path and you're in the space shuttle or the International Space Station. Because you got to remember, everything's whizzing around at about 18,000 miles an hour. 18,000 miles an hour this way plus 18,000 miles an hour that way, a fleck of paint will just go through anything. So we really, one of our challenges is to try to identify as much of the space debris as we can and try to help develop ways to clean it out. We don't know how to do that yet, but I can tell you all of our international partners are working just as diligently on it as we are. One of the reasons we want to study asteroids is because that's a form of space debris. The difference between asteroids and other things orbiting Earth is asteroids orbit the sun. We understand very well things that orbit Earth. We can classify it, we can tell you what orbit it is in, we can tell you when it's going to pass. We don't know that about asteroids. And my experts tell me we needed probably, somebody help me here, probably about 30 days worth of data to be able to have a clue as to what path an asteroid is going to follow. So one of our jobs is to try to identify and characterize 90% of the potential near-Earth objects that could cause damage to Earth by 2020. I can tell you, as I've told Senator Brown and other members of Congress, we are not going to be able to fulfill that challenge because we just don't have the capability to do it with Earth looking out radar and the like. What we need are systems like WISE that we just launched back in December, which is an infrared imaging satellite that enables us to look back into the atmosphere or in the environs around Earth, and we can identify much more of the near-Earth objects that threaten us. So we've got to determine what they are and what's their makeup. Sand, that's okay, because it'll hit Earth, and if it makes it through the atmosphere, and just kind of break up. A metal particle, no matter how big or small, that can ruin your day. And we don't want to go through another ice age, I don't think, that's caused by something impacting the Earth and throwing up debris that will be the next extinct species, like the dinosaurs.
Hi, General Bolden, thank you for coming today and talking about the exciting opportunities for NASA Glenn. I'd like to kind of go to another kind of strength that they have in advanced energy over the years. I mean, they've been a resource for decades. And I'm wondering how that fits into your new mission, the application of the technology they're developing into terrestrial applications. And we're looking at that as a key driver in our initiatives to develop advanced energy in the region.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a good answer for you, but I would tell you that Dr. Bobby Braun, who is the chief technologist for NASA, he is working on that. He's been around to most of the NASA centers, and he's looking at that very thing. Some of the requests for information that we sent out to industry said, tell us what it is that you think we should be spending research money on. And when it comes to scholarships and grants for kids, tell us what areas of interest we should be paying for a graduate student to get into. So you're absolutely right that we need to be doing that, and we're trying to find out from industry, academia, and others as to exactly where those areas of opportunity are. Before the next question, let me go back over, because the gentleman mentioned something that I really want to highlight. FIRST Robotics is what I think you're talking about. Incredible. If you do not know about FIRST Robotics, go Google it. It is an absolutely phenomenal program that's been around for about 15 years, and the stories from FIRST Robotics, one that will bring tears to your eyes is stories of gang members in San Jose who had their lives completely changed when they were drawn into the FIRST Robotics program. and brought their gang members with them. Two of them are out on the West Coast now. One guy, and they were from rival gangs in San Jose, California. One of them is presently an engineer at the Ames Research Center, and one of them is a PhD who's a professor in some college out there. But these were guys who were bad, bad people. And they did bad, bad things, but they were captured by just the thought that they could build a robot and they could get involved in a program. And it starts in preschool and it goes all the way up through college. So if you don't know about FIRST Robotics, have your company find out about it, because all you need to do is provide mentors. It is just an absolutely, it's not a NASA program, but I'm a solid supporter and advocate for it if you don't know anything about it. Fighting over the mic.
General Bolden, has the calcium secretion problem been solved?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The calcium secretion for extended space travel in microgravity.
Bone loss. I'm sorry. The problem has not been solved, but Mike Foreman back here, who's now a detailee to Glenn and is a recent space flyer, when Mike flew, the techniques that we use for bone loss prevention were much, 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 much better than when Guy and I flew. When we flew, now there was no International Space Station, so we weren't flying for 6 months at a time. A 6-month flight, a person in the past could lose 50% of their bone mass. Now that's not, I don't mean to scare you, okay? We're just talking about, a normal young human being having the skeletal structure like a woman who is suffering from severe osteoporosis. Everybody generally returned to some normalcy after being back on Earth for a period of time. We've now developed new exercise regimens and the like, that have really cut down on the amount of calcium secretion, bone loss, if you will, significantly. And I think we've even had a couple of astronauts who've come back with almost zero bone loss after 6 months in space. Same thing with muscle mass. We call it muscle atrophy. The muscle we're worried about is the heart. And even in short space flights, you're worried about cardiovascular deconditioning, the heart just not having to, it doesn't have to work at all. Because when you're in space, you're in microgravity, your blood, everything just kind of moves around. And you know, the heart just, it doesn't have to work, and so it very quickly becomes deconditioned. We're really worried about that, so that's one of the reasons that we had astronauts always exercise to try to keep their hearts really strong. We have different ways of doing it now. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
See, why do you look at me like that? Welcome, Administrator
Always
Bolden.
good to be
It's
here.
good to be here. It's good to have you here. Just want to get your thoughts on a New York Times article this morning that talked about the Senate, maybe as early as next week, is going to mark up a bill that would basically add at least one more shuttle flight, would speed up development of a heavy lift launch vehicle, and move ahead with building a spacecraft to venture beyond low Earth orbit. You know, I've sat in hearings and we've had our discussions about where we think it should go. So I'd just like to get your views on that.
You know, the only thing that I can say right now, and I think you understand, Congresswoman Fudge, is that the administration and Congress are in consultation, and I won't comment on the veracity of the article. But I will say that I'm encouraged by the degree of conversation that we're presently having between us and the administration and all of you in the Congress. And I thank you for your support. As a matter of fact. No, I mean, seriously, I meant that. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Look, even Senator Brown's looking down here saying. No, I will let members of the Ohio delegation speak for themselves, but I think, you know, our relationship with the Ohio delegation is incredibly strong.